It said that hospitals never sleep. No matter the hour, something always moves behind those white walls. But for one nurse working the night shift at Montgomery City Hospital, what moved in those halls wasn't supposed to be alive. The first night, Ellie Reyes had been a registered nurse for 3 years. She just transferred to the night shift, mostly because of the extra pay, and partly because she thought nights would be quiet. They told her the third floor was peaceful after dark. They didn't tell her it was haunted. Her first night, the charge nurse handed her the patient chart and said, "Room 312, Mr. Calloway. He likes to talk. Don't mind him." But when Ellie checked the room later that night, Mr. Calloway wasn't talking. He was whispering. She leaned closer, trying to hear. His voice was rough, like static under his breath. "Don't let it walk tonight," he murmured. At 12:15 a.m., the intercom crackled with a faint buzz. "Housekeeping to corridor F. Repeat, corridor F." Ellie frowned. There was no corridor F on the third floor map. Still, she decided to check. Maybe it was a mislabeled wing. She grabbed her flashlight and walked down the east hallway. But something was wrong. The further she walked, the quieter the hospital became. No hum of machines, no distant footsteps, just the dull whine of electricity. When she reached the end of the hallway, she stopped. There was a sign on the wall, Corridor F, except the lettering looked hand-painted, and the paint was wet. That's when she heard it. Her name. A voice whispered from the dark. "Ellie." She spun around, but the hall was empty. Still, the air felt heavier, like the oxygen had been replaced with something cold. Her radio hissed softly in her pocket. "Nurse Reyes, you're needed in Wing C." Wing C had been closed for construction months ago. She decided to check on Mr. Calloway before she followed the page. When she reached his room, her stomach dropped. His bed was empty. The sheets were perfect, the pillow undented. But the heart monitor, it was still reading a pulse. Steady, normal, as if someone invisible was lying there. "Mr. Calloway?" she whispered, stepping closer. The whisper came back from behind her, the same rasping voice. "Don't let it walk." Studio microphone narration. She stumbled out into the hall, slamming the door behind her. But when she looked back at the window, there was a reflection in the glass. A tall, faceless figure standing beside the bed. She rushed to the nurse's station, panting. Her co-worker, Melissa, looked up from the computer. "You okay?" Ellie hesitated. "Do we have a corridor F on this floor?" Melissa frowned. "Corridor what?" When she turned back toward the hallway she'd come from, the sign was gone. Just blank wall and flickering lights. She tried to shake it off. She continued her rounds. But something had shifted. The air felt heavier. The temperature dropped by several degrees. At 2:02 a.m., every light on the floor went out, except one. Mr. Calloway's room. She walked toward it, calling his name. But halfway down the hall, her flashlight flickered. The walls around her began to move. She turned back, but the nurse's station was gone. The exit doors gone. Only an endless hallway of doors, each labeled with names she didn't recognize. A low hum filled the air. Then the intercom buzzed. "Ellie, room 312. Her flashlight flickered one last time and died. When the lights came back, Ellie found herself standing inside room 312. But the bed was occupied again. Mr. Calloway was there, pale, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. "Mr. Calloway? Are you all right?" He slowly turned his head toward her, jaw trembling. "You shouldn't have come when it walks." The lights dimmed again. The silhouette took a step forward, its movements jerky as if caught between frames. Ellie grabbed Calloway's arm and pulled, but her hand went through him. He was cold. Not just cold, absent. Then the whisper returned, dozens of voices overlapping. "We never leave. Corridor F." Ellie woke up sitting at the nurse's station, her coffee cold beside her. Her watch read 3:47 a.m. The last thing she remembered was opening Mr. Calloway's door. She ran to room 312. The bed was empty. A different patient's name was already on the door. Calloway M. had been replaced with Henson P. She called down to the records department. They had no patient by the name Calloway listed for that week. But they did find something strange. There had been a Mr. Calloway, admitted 15 years ago. He died in room 312 at 2:02 a.m. That's when Ellie noticed something scrawled on her clipboard in thick red marker. Corridor F opens again tonight. She threw the board away, but when she clocked out at 7 a.m., she swore she heard the intercom whisper one last time. See you tonight, Nurse Reyes. Hospitals are places where life and death meet. But sometimes the line between the two gets lost in the night shift. So if you ever find yourself walking empty halls at 2 a.m. and you hear your name whispered from a corridor that doesn't exist, don't answer. The factory that shouldn't be running. Factories at night have a rhythm of their own. The hum of machines, the low hiss of steam, and that steady vibration through the floor. It's almost hypnotic. But for Marcus Greaves, that hum turned into something else. Something alive. Marcus worked nights because no one else wanted to. The Hartwell plant ran 24/7, producing industrial solvents and chemical mixtures. Half the building dated back to the 1950s, creaky, rusted, and rumored to be built over an older facility that caught fire decades ago. He clocked in at 11:56 p.m., grabbed his maintenance log, and took a seat in the control booth. The plant was silent except for the steady hum of pumps and the slow, rhythmic click-click of valves. Routine checks, he thought. Easy night. At 12:43 a.m., one of the sensors on pipeline 7B spiked. Pressure anomaly, brief, then gone. Marcus frowned. That section hadn't been used in weeks. He grabbed his flashlight and made his way down the steel catwalks towards section 7B. The air grew thick, faintly chemical like sweet antifreeze. Halfway there, he stopped. They started dry, but got wetter as they went. And they didn't stop at the wall, they went up the wall. Marcus froze. The air felt charged, like static before a storm. Then he heard a sound, dripping. Not water, something thicker. He radioed the control room, but no one answered. Only a distorted hiss, like someone breathing too close to the mic. Then the sirens went off. Every red light in the factory flashed at once, spinning beams cutting through the dark like knives. The alarm screamed, echoing through steel corridors. Marcus ran to the control booth. The panels were going haywire, gauges spiking, valves opening by themselves. A single timestamp blinked on every monitor. 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 13 seconds. He tried shutting down the system, but the computer rejected the command. Access denied, system locked. The plant wasn't under his control anymore. Marcus decided to check the upper catwalks. Maybe someone else was inside. But as he climbed, the metal stairs groaned under his boots, echoing into the cavernous factory floor. At the top, he saw the chemical vats below, bubbling. But those vats were supposed to be dormant. No reaction scheduled. The fluid shimmered with faint light, like something moving just beneath the surface. Then he heard tapping, metal on metal. Talp, talp, talp. It echoed from above. He aimed his flashlight, but the beam caught something wrong. A person, no, a figure, clinging upside down to the support beams, staring back with eyes that glowed faintly yellow. Marcus stumbled back. His flashlight flickered out. When it came back on, the figure was gone. But the pipes above him were dripping, with something dark, viscous, and warm. He ran back toward the control booth, his boots clanging on the metal floor. The alarms had stopped, but now there was a heartbeat, deep, mechanical, echoing through the entire building. When he reached the booth, the monitors showed every corridor, and in each one, the same silhouette was walking toward the camera. All at once, Marcus unplugged the system. The screen stayed on. Then one by one, the figure stopped, turned, and faced him. He screamed and smashed the emergency stop button. Everything went black. The heartbeat stopped. He backed away, stumbled into the hallway. and found every door welded shut. The only exit light pointed upward toward the roof. He climbed a service ladder, desperate for fresh air. Halfway up, he paused. The air above was swirling like fog, but smelled chemical. Metallic. Wrong. At the top, he looked back down at the factory floor and saw movement. Dozens of figures crawling up the walls, pale, slick with oil, reaching for him. He kicked open a roof hatch and pulled himself onto the cold concrete, choking on the fumes. When he looked out across the plant yard, every smokestack was lit, every vent pumping dark smoke into the sky. But the factory was supposed to be offline. Studio microphone narration. He ran to the edge of the roof, shouting for help. But the night was dead silent, and below him, his reflection stared back from a puddle. Only it wasn't his. When the morning crew arrived, they found the roof hatch open. No sign of Marcus. The control booth was dark. The logs showed a final entry, 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 13 seconds, and a single note typed into the system. Do not disturb the vats. A few days later, the plant resumed operations. Maintenance found footprints, barefoot, black with residue, along the inside of the vats. But no one could explain how they got there. And now, every night, the security cameras still glitch at 2:02 a.m. A shadow walks between the tanks. Sometimes, it looks right at the lens. They say factories have a heartbeat because of the machines. But what if the heartbeat comes from something older, something that never stopped working? So if you ever take the night shift and the alarms go off at 2:02 a.m., don't go looking for the cause. It might already be looking for you. The jail that wouldn't sleep. Some jobs make you question reality, but none more than working in an empty county jail after midnight. The concrete walls, the stale air, the feeling that you're the only living thing for miles. But for Officer Daniel Reyes, those walls weren't empty. They remembered. Daniel transferred to Hollow Creek after 6 years with city police. He wanted quiet, small-town boredom over city chaos. He didn't believe in ghosts or haunted jails. Not until his second week on night duty. There were only 2 inmates that night. One drunk tank, one parole violator, and Daniel, the only guard on shift after midnight. He did his rounds, logged his checks, poured coffee. Everything was normal, until the lights flickered. The backup generator kicked in, but when the screens came back, Daniel noticed something off. Cell 3C, marked vacant, now showed movement. He checked the roster. Only 2 inmates. No one assigned to 3C since 1998. Still, he had to make sure. When he reached 3C, he froze. The cell door was closed, but the inside light was on. He peeked through the slot. He unlocked the cell, stepped inside, and immediately smelled it, damp stone and something coppery. He lifted his flashlight toward the back wall. He stumbled back out, locking the cell behind him. When he turned, all the other cell doors down the hallway were open. Daniel rushed to the control room, breathing hard. All the feeds now showed inmates in every cell, 20, maybe more. Men pacing, sitting, sleeping. But when he checked in person, every single cell was empty. He thought maybe the system had pulled archive footage, but the timestamps were live. 2:02 a.m. He leaned closer, trying to make sense of it. Then, one of the figures in cell 3C turned to face the camera directly at him. Studio microphone narration. Daniel felt a cold breath on his neck. He spun around. No one there. But the coffee cup on his desk slid an inch toward the edge. He remembered an old story from another officer about the East Wing, sealed after a fire in 1989. Supposedly, a guard and 6 inmates died when the sprinklers failed. No one went down there anymore. But the security feed from that section had just come alive. He stared in disbelief. The camera angle turned slightly, as if whoever was filming wanted him to see himself. Then, a door slammed down the hall. The East Wing door, a rusted steel barrier, was open. Cold air poured out like a freezer. Inside, everything felt wrong. Sound didn't echo. It absorbed. The cells were blackened, bars twisted like wax. Then he heard it, whispering, low, broken voices. He called out, "Who's there?" The whispering stopped. Then one voice answered, close behind him, "We never left." Daniel stumbled back, dropping his light. When it hit the floor, the beam caught dozens of faces pressed between the cell bars, staring silently. The emergency radio crackled. Static, then a faint voice. "Unit 12, respond. You're not supposed to be there." He tried to run, but every hallway looped back to the same spot. The east wing door was gone. Every exit led back to cell 3C. And in each pass, the message on the wall had changed. His flashlight started flickering again, 2:02 on his wristwatch. Every bulb buzzed, dimmed, then exploded, showering sparks. The inmates stepped out of their cells, hundreds now, silent, their eyes hollow, all facing him, and from behind them, a taller figure emerged. Daniel screamed and slammed his radio. A blinding white flash filled the hall. Then silence. They found Daniel's patrol car outside the next morning, still running. No sign of him inside the jail. The security logs showed no entry after 11:59 p.m. But the cameras? They played something else. When new officers took the shift, they reported faint knocking from the East Wing. 3 knocks every night, right at 2:02 a.m. And on the next night, one rookie swore he saw someone standing inside cell 3C, a uniformed guard, badge glinting faintly. Namatak lies. They say prisons hold memories, anger, pain, guilt. But Hollow Creek holds something else. Something that doesn't forget who locks the doors. So if you ever find yourself working the night shift in an old county jail, and you hear those 3 knocks, don't answer. If these stories kept you looking over your shoulder tonight, hit that like button before the lights go out, and subscribe for more true horror that never sleeps.